I know you have somewhere better to be. Good afternoon, everyone. So the Council met in closed consultations this afternoon on Sudan and agreed to the following press elements, which I will read to you. Members of the Security Council met this afternoon and received a briefing in closed consultations from OCHA. Council members expressed concern regarding the ongoing fighting and underlined their support for the work of UN humanitarian agencies, UN implementing partners, and the ICRC. They called for the respect for international humanitarian law and scaling up humanitarian assistance to Sudan and neighboring states. The fighting has to stop and civilians must be protected. End of press elements.
Ambassador, do you mind if I ask you a question in your national?
I do not mind, James, if you ask me a question in my national capacity.
So it's about, you've got two warring generals in Sudan, but you seem to have two warring generals in Russia right now. The head of the Wagner group seems to be possibly taking up arms against General Shoigu. There's a lot of rumour, I admit it's a lot of rumour and nothing's very clear, but what are you hearing about the situation and how worried are you about the situation?
I'm not hearing anything about the situation internally in Russia, but we had, as you know, a substantive discussion of the situation in Ukraine this morning with a detailed briefing from Rosemary DiCarlo about the worrying developments on the ground. And I think Council members were united around the need to call for de-escalation, dialogue, and a peaceful settlement to the war in Ukraine. So I think that's the clear message from the Security Council today that you heard in all the public statements, including support for the renewal of the Black Sea Grain Initiative and including for support of the protection and safeguarding of nuclear sites like the Zaporizhia plant. So I think there's a lot of consensus coming out from Council member statements from the discussion this morning on Ukraine.
I was just going to say,
please.
The Council discussed the current escalating state of actions between the Palestinians, the Israelis, also in closed consultations. Was there any agreement on a statement, and what was the thrust of the discussion?
With regards to the closed consultation on the situation in the Middle East and the occupied Palestinian territory, the Council heard from Special Coordinator Tor Wensland. We had a very sobering update from him of the developments on the ground. I think a number of Council members expressed the position that the UAE has expressed in its national capacity, that this is the biggest resurgence of violence that we've seen in nearly 2 decades, that an increasing number of civilian lives are being lost, and that we have to condemn such violence, call for accountability, in particular when children are losing their lives in these contexts, and we need to prevent further loss of life. I can't comment on the discussions with regards to press elements. As you know, I'm here reading press elements that were agreed on the situation in Sudan, which I might add were, I think, the first press elements that have been agreed by the Council this year. The Council is busy working and looking at conflicts across the Security Council's agenda, and the UAE in its presidency is very committed to raising the idea of press elements at the end of every meeting, including on the situation on the occupied Palestinian territory. So that's where we are with that. But it was a substantive discussion and a sobering assessment from Tor Wensland today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.